I like it. I like appointments that you set up years in advance, and I like appointments that you set up hours in advance. I just want every one of them to be an appointment. I want to be where God wants me to be. Don't you? I really like church. I like it a lot. I like to be with people in the presence of God. Church is stupid. It's stupid in all the best ways. Between Christmas and New Year's, and by the way, I've already started listening to Christmas music. It, you know, starts getting cold here, you know, gets down to 58, and I'm just, you know, I'm thinking Christmas music. I like Christmas a lot. And at our house every Christmas, between Christmas and New Year's, we have a family Christmas party, and we have a big family. There are, I mean, my wife and I have 5 kids. They're all married and breeding. They have 16 kids among them. So there are 26 of us, just Cindy and me and what we have created, you know. And the rest of the family, we have a large family, so we have somewhere anywhere between 50 and 75 people that come to our house for this Christmas party. And every year we do this, 2 things. We have a talent show, and then we do a reenactment of the Christmas story. My mother-in-law directs it. The kids dress up. The little boys are dressed up as kings, you know, wise men. They got little Burger King, you know, crowns on, you know, and they have sticks with duct tape crooks, you know, for the shepherds to be the shepherds, and they're wearing bathrobes, and you know, and the little girls, they dress up like angels, and they have these tutus on with, you know, angels that Grandma made, and they just feel so pretty, you know, prancing around. And every year we have a new baby, and so one of my sons or my daughter and her husband will be Mary and Joseph, and their new baby will be Jesus. This last Christmas we had 2 new babies, so my mother-in-law was kind enough to write a part in for Zechariah and Elizabeth and John the Baptist, you know. So we had 2 little babies, this is John and Jesus, and one of the kids plays piano, and we sing the Christmas carols. One of the kids narrates the story and just carries us through reading the Bible. You know, it came to pass in the days of Caesar Augustus that a decree went forth that all the world should be taxed. You know, and one of the kids is reading all this, tripping over the words they don't know, and then we sing the songs together, and a couple of kids are playing violin and cello along. And I got to tell you, it's kind of stupid. You know, it's just, we're hoping one of these days that we can hire professionals, you know, to do all this. So we've got a really good pianist and violinist, and Matthias will have you come, you know, and we can get rid of all these kids doing all this stupid stuff, and we can get actual actors up there. There's not a chance we're ever going to do that. Why do I like it? I like it because it's stupid. Some people say, well, you know, we're not allowed to say that word in our house. This ain't your house. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Do you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? I'm just being provocative. I'm just trying to get you to think differently about it. When I come to church, I'm looking for a stupid church. I'm looking for one where it's us. It's not the professionals. I went to church with my son. 5,000 people go to this church down in Southern California, you know. The worship team, they were standing back there, and they all looked perfectly tousled like all Californians do, you know. The jeans were torn in all the right places. The hair was messy in all the right spots. And they stood back there, and then they stepped forward, and they had gleaming faces and smiles, and they sang, Lord, I lift you, you know, it was perfect. It was just perfect. 45 minutes of worship, just perfect. And my son said, what'd you think? And I said, I could have come 45 minutes late and been really happy. Why? Because it was perfect. It wasn't stupid enough. When I come to church, I'm not looking for the hippest. Heaven's not hip. It's not hip because I'm going there. I'm going to be there. If you're going to be there, is it going to be hip? Is there a doormat at heaven that's checking your teeth to see if you got a, checking your face, see if you got a pulled hair transplant? What I love about church, what I love most about church is the plainness of it. It says us. Part of that plainness is that we should come here willing not to be hip and just to be honest and unpretentious. Right? That's, God accepts us as we are, who we are. Church, we come here. You know what I'm looking for in church? People ask me where I go to church, and I tell them I go to Capital Christian Center, and I'm there faithfully once every 3 years. Because I'm on the road, I'm other places. I go to church all over America. But if I was not traveling, I would go to a church like this. And I might even drive up from where I live. I live in Fair Oaks. I might just drive up and come to church here every Sunday. Why? Because I'm not looking for the hippest, the coolest. I'm looking for family. I'm looking to hang out with people. I'm looking for somebody to trade me eggs for tomatoes on Sundays. I'm looking for somebody who knows me so well that even before I tell them something bad has happened in my life, they already know it. That's what I'm looking for. Sociologists tell us that man is a tribal being. Some people don't like that word. Let's call it a village. Some people don't like that word. I don't know what word to use. I do know this. They say it's about 120. It's about the limit of the number of people you can actually have relationships with. The Romans wouldn't let their cohorts, the division of the army, grow any larger than 150 men, because they knew that once they grew larger than that, that the fabric that held them together began to disintegrate. They couldn't function as a society, a small society, if they were larger than 150. Well, sociologists say 120 is about the limit. I don't think it's insignificant that there were 120 in the upper room waiting in Jerusalem when the Holy Spirit came on the early church. I don't think it's insignificant. I think it means something to us that God calls us to a fellowship of people whose names we can know. I had a friend come up to another friend. They said, hey, welcome to our church. And the guy said, well, I was just about to say the same thing to you. I said, really? Well, how long have you been going to church here? He said, I've been going to church here for 12 years. Well, I've been going to church here for 17 years. They didn't even know each other. The church was too large. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm just looking for people to be with in the presence of God. That's what I want. I'm so glad you're here. This is where it lives. I got a text this morning from a friend of mine. He says, I'm feeling the need to simplify. He said, I won't be texting anymore, and I won't be going on Facebook anymore. I have 5,000 Facebook friends. I think we need to revive the word acquaintance. I don't know these people. Come on. I couldn't know them. It's just impossible. But I could know you. And coming here every Sunday, I could know you, and we could get to know each other. And the kind of knowing that forgives when you're cranky. Do you know? Oh, well, he's had a bad week. You know that kind of knowing? That's what I want. Something else I want out of church. I don't want to talk about Jesus. We've had enough of talking about Jesus. People have been asking us this question. What would Jesus do? That's not the question. Because you know what that question presumes? It presumes this. Jesus is not here. And you must act like he would if he were. That is a wrong presumption. Jesus is here.
Amen.
The question is, Jesus, what are you doing? It's not what would Jesus do. We can ask that about anybody. What would Buddha do? What would Krishna do? What would Lenin or Marx or Lennon and McCartney do? The question is, Jesus, what are you doing? We are telling stories about our long dead leader. We're referring to the Bible as though Jesus' birth to death was the only record of his existence. Let me give you another record of his existence. In the beginning was the Word. And the Word was God, and the Word was with God. He pre-existed that manger in Bethlehem, and he post-existed that tomb in Jerusalem.
Amen.
He's here. What did he say? Do you believe the Bible?
Yes.
Lo, I am with you always. I'll be with you until the ends of the earth. I will never leave you or forsake you. David said, if I go up to the heavens, you're there. If I go down to hell, you're there. Everywhere I go, you're there. God is here. There is no there in God. You're always face to face with him, whether you know it or not. Paul said it this way in Acts chapter 17. In him we live and move and have our being. You're swimming in him all the time. You know what? It's not a matter of distance, it's a matter of perception. I was talking to my wife and we were joking around this morning a little bit. I'm going to church and I'm going to meet God there. That's what we think. We make an appointment to meet God. Can I tell you something? You brought him. You were swimming in him before you ever got here. You expected to meet him here, and so you meet him here. But you could have met him in bed this morning. You could have met him in the shower. You could have met him in the kitchen. Because he's always with you. He doesn't go away. Where's there to go? Where would he go? Is God over there, and then he comes over here? No. There is no there. Theologians call it omnipresent. He's present everywhere. Whose center is everywhere, and circumference is nowhere. God is here. In the Old Testament, Elisha was with his assistant. And I love these assistants. There are people in the Bible who are unnamed. I think I love that. Little. For instance, on the road to Emmaus, after the resurrection, I just love this. There are two guys walking along, and Jesus appears to them. They don't recognize him. It's significant, but we won't talk about that. They walk along, and the Bible records the name of one and not the name of the other one. It goes Cleopas and that other guy. What if you were that other guy? You go, dude, Johnny, it's Johnny. That's pretty simpler than Cleopas. Couldn't you remember my name? Cleopas and that other guy? So it's Elisha and that other guy. They're facing an enemy army, and the other guy, his assistant, is scared. He doesn't know what they're going to do. What was Elisha's prayer? What did he pray? What did he, Janice? What did he open his eyes. It's not a matter of distance. It's a matter of perception. Open his eyes. God did open his eyes. He answered Elisha's prayer. He saw the armies of heaven.
Amen.
His perception changed his response to the circumstance. Same thing happened, same kind of thing happened in John, I think it's chapter 11. Jesus looked up to heaven and said, Father, glorify your name. A voice from heaven came and said, I have both glorified it and will glorify it again. John understood who spoke and what was said, and he recorded it for us. But he also recorded that there were some people who thought it was an angel that had spoken, and there were other people who just thought it thundered. Do you see the same circumstance with three different levels of perception? Some people are going to tell you, when you know it's God, they're going to tell you it's thunder. That's thunder, man. Come on. You're reading too much into this. That can happen. But I think as Americans, we err too much on reading too little into things than too much. Frankly, we're hearing thunder, and God is speaking to us. God is speaking to us because he's right here. You are face to face with him all the time. He's closer than your breath. Father, reveal yourself to us today. Open our eyes to see you. Open our ears to hear you. Open our hearts to receive you. I'm working on a song. I haven't finished it. I'm not even close. But it goes something like this. Show me your face. Show me your face. Oh Lord, open my eyes to see you. My heart, ears to hear you. My heart to worship and say, show me your face. It came out of just that being my prayer. Show me your face. John says no one has ever seen the face of God and lived. I still want to be face to face with him, like Jacob wrestling with the angel. Called that place Peniel because he said, I've seen the face of God and lived. I want that. Don't you want that? If you want anything else, you're settling for less. If you want money, if you want fame, you're wanting hay and wood and stubble. I was reading the obituaries. I read the obituaries a lot. How many of you do? Yeah, man, that's the most read page in the newspaper. It is. Everybody fights. All the advertisers fight to get their ad on the obituary page because they know that's the one everybody's looking at. You know, who died? Who died? And I remember reading it, and two guys died on the same day. And here's how they, I don't remember the other one, the second one. But I do remember this one, the first one. And it said, Robert Louis Morris dies. It's the guy that wrote Louis Louis. Remember that song? Louis Louis. Oh, baby, said we gotta go now. Yeah. It wasn't a dirty song. Everybody thought it was, but he was a Christian, and he regretted it that everybody always thought it was a dirty song. It wasn't there. But he died, and this is how they listed him in the obituaries. Robert Louis Morris dies. And I thought, when I saw that, you know what my obituary is going to say? Bob, Lord be glorified, Kilpatrick dies. Because people are going to remember, your life always gets reduced to a sentence or a paragraph, you know, it's just very small, you know, so people are going to remember, in my life, Lord be glorified. Oh, Bob Kilpatrick wrote that. Yeah, he's dead. Oh, that's too bad. What's for lunch? That's what happens. Because no matter how much money you made, or how much fame you had, or how much power, you exercise, you're still going to die. And you're going to come, whether you like it or not, face to face with God. You could start now if you wanted. Here's the thing. When you start living face to face with God, the perception that you are with Him at every moment, and you're asking Him every moment of every day, you're saying, God, open my eyes to see you. Open my ears to hear you. I want to be aware of your presence right now. You know what happens to you? You're ruined for anything else. You get ruined. You start seeing the world differently. You see money's like dirt. It's just of this world. Power, it's like dirt. It's just of this world. Fame, that's worse than dirt. The dirty dirt. You're going to come to the end. And then you'll slip out of this life into eternity. What a great moment. I'm really looking forward to it. Okay, I better sing. Because I've got to get you to the restaurants before the Baptists. Let's go. Can I sing you a few songs this morning? I've given you my sermon. You just got the sermon. Let me just wrap it up by challenging you this way. What would happen in your life? What would change about your life if tomorrow morning, instead of trying to grasp, control, if you just did this, you just abandoned, let yourself go, and ask this question: Jesus, what are you doing? I want to do it with you. Jesus said, I only do what I see my Father do. He that has ears to hear, let him hear. Colossians 1:15. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation, both in heaven and earth, visible and invisible. God's inviting you into the invisible realm to live there, to see Him. Jesus, what are you doing? He wants to show you. Therefore, Paul says in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, we fix our eyes on the things that are not seen rather than the things that are seen, because the things that are not seen are eternal, and the things that are seen are temporal. God wants to open your eyes. What would happen in your life? What if you looked at your coworker and you realized there's a struggle going on? Marriage is deteriorating. Has a controlling problem. I need to pray for them. Well, what happened? What just might change in your life? Are you willing to go on an adventure? To just say, Jesus, what are you doing? Abandon yourself to Him. You willing? What would change? Hey, Matthias, you want to do something? I'm springing it on you, but I got a song I want to do, and I think it just needs a little. I want to jam. I don't always get to play with human beings, you know. Monkeys, yes, but not. So it's in G, and it's just, you know. Do you have a microphone? Do you need it? Jesus, it's you, no one but you. Jesus, it's you I need. No one can do what you can do. Jesus, it's you I need. I've seen the price of power, I've seen the cost of fame. I know what wealth can do, but nothing compares to your name. I've seen the brighter side, now I can testify. No one can satisfy like you. Jesus, it's you, no one but you. Jesus, it's you. trust your grace and daily live by faith in you. Just because it was so much fun that time, you know. What else can we do here? Let's see. Let's see. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do the one, you know. Sing it while he plays. In my life, say. Sing it again in my life. good reason to be here this Sunday. I like playing with carbon-based life forms. That's really a lot of fun, man. Thanks very much. Okay, we got to work together a little bit sometime here. Okay. Okay, so Chris asked me if I would do the what ifs this morning, and that is, what if somebody else had written that song? Because you know I wrote that song, right? So it's my song. I wrote it. I wrote that song. Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking all kinds of things. Bill Haley in the comments, you know, had this one hit. He was like 40, 45 or something. It was kind of old for a pop star, you know, when he had this hit, Rock Around the Clock. And he really wanted fame so desperately, wanted people to know who he was. He would actually walk through as he's on his way to a table in a restaurant. He would stop at tables and introduce himself to people. Hey, my name's Bill Haley, you know, Bill Haley in the comments, Rock Around the Clock. Because he wanted people to know, man, I'm the guy. I started telling people I wrote that song. I was trying to be humble, falsely humble, you know, and because I desperately wanted people to know I'd written it, and that I was very cool, because, you know, that's, you get your cool out of the song or whatever you produce, you know. If you're, well, anyway, you just, you know, so many of us get our meaning out of the things we produce, rather than simply who we are. And so I was. So I wanted people to know I'd written it, but I didn't want them to know I was telling them I had written it, you know? So it's like, be humble and be very, very cool at the same time, you know, that's what I wanted. And so I wouldn't tell people I'd written it, I would just sing the song. And then this girl came up to me after a concert, and she goes, you know that song you sang, In My Life, Lord Be Glorified? Yep. You're singing it wrong. I said, really? She said, yep. Now, I'm telling you the conversation as it happened. I'm not making any of this up, okay? She said, my brother is good friends with the guy who wrote that. And I said, what's your brother's name? And she said, well, you wouldn't know him. Okay. Well, how's the song go? And she, you know, in my life, Lord, be glorified, be glorified, you know, something weird. And I just said, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. I didn't want to embarrass her, you know, but I did. I could have told her, you know, however I sang the song, that's the way it goes because I made it up, you know. It's my song. It's not scripture. I've had some people get mad at me for doing what I'm about to do, which is to tell, you know, show you what the song would have sounded like if somebody else had written it. I've had people get mad at me. They go, you've just totally ruined that song for us from now on. We'll never be able to worship the Lord with that song anymore. And when they do that, I just think, you know, look, this is not scripture. I made the song up. It's like I didn't borrow it from the Bible. It wasn't like I took David's words or Jesus' words and changed them. I just made up a little song. It was my prayer. I didn't like mess with the Bible. And if it ruins your worship, you haven't learned to laugh in the presence of God. I'll tell you what I love. When I do this, people laugh, you know? That makes me really happy because I love to see people worshiping while they're smiling, while they're joyful. I think it was G.K. Chesterton said that he thought that the sound of heaven was, the predominant sound of heaven was laughter. I really like that. So if you're going to heaven, get ready to have a really good time, okay? So this is what the song, a friend of mine, you know, had pointed out that sounds like I wrote it, has my style, and that then led me to think, well, what would the song have sounded like if other people had written it? And this is what the song might have sounded like if Frank Sinatra had written it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, well, in my life, Lord, I say, be glorified, baby, be glorified in my life, Lord, be glorified, be glorified, be glorified today. My life, Lord, be glorified. Or the Beatles had written, Lord, be glorified. 1, 2, 3. In my life, Lord, in my life, Lord, be glorified today. Be glorified today. Or, if William wrote it, Lord be glorified. Just can't wait to sing, Lord be glorified. In my life, Lord be glorified today. I can't wait to sing, Lord be glorified. Okay. So you're laughing, you're a perfect candidate for heaven. That's great. Okay, I don't want to keep you much longer because I'm hungry. No, I'm not hungry. I'm not really hungry. I'm real quiet. But I do want to know, are there any other requests, songs you've heard me sing before and you'd like to hear again? It's got to be one of mine, okay? I'm not like a Christian jukebox. I don't do other people's songs, you know. I did this one time without stipulating that. I said, any other requests? And this lady said, raindrops keep falling on my head. I'm not doing that. So it's going to be one of mine. But if you can't remember the title, but you can remember some of the words, I can help you because I know most of the words to my song. You know, when I don't know them, I just do what any good Christian singer does. I just act like I'm getting blessed. I just go. People get their hankies out, blessing Jesus. So are there any others? No? We're good? All right.
A mirror in the sky?
Who said that?
I did.
How do you know that song?
I just did.
You even got the title.
Oh.
That's pretty impressive. Okay, so this song, I'm sorry. This song came from, I was at this gathering with a guy named Tony Campolo, who's from back east, a sociologist and Baptist minister, interesting kind of guy. And he was just telling us this sociological fact that a tribe would choose, or a group of people, you know, would choose something that represented their greatest characteristic, and they would make a totem out of it, put it up on a totem pole. They would say, like, you know, we are strong like the bear. So the bear becomes the symbol of their tribe. But after a while, the bear becomes the god of the tribe, right? So what is it that they're worshiping? They're actually worshiping what they love about themselves. They're worshiping their own strength, worshiping themselves. That's what the song is about. The witch doctor says we are strong like the bear, so he carves up a totem and he puts it by the fire where the shadows dance like ghosts. The people all say our God is just like the bear, so they bow down and worship what they think it is they love about themselves the most. Too timid, polemic, build yourself a God. Terrific, but it's just a fraud. It's us, it's us, it's us, it's us. We put a mirror in the sky. We look up and see ourselves magnified. Our God looks just like you and I. We put a mirror in the sky. Well, I'm a civilized man in a civilized place, and the God that I worship wears a civilized face. None of this jungle mumbo jumbo. And he honors me most with success. My God is very impressed and makes a note of me in his book. Take a measure of your treasure, build you got a throne. Play cake, domesticate, throw you got a bone. He's your pet, your pet, your pet, your pet. We put a mirror in the sky. We look up and see ourselves magnified. Like our just like you and I. We put a mirror in the sky. We look up and see ourselves magnified. Our coverage just like you and I. We put a mirror, we put a mirror, we put a mirror in the sky. Who said that? What did you ask?
Can you tell us some of the songs that you've written, a list of them?
Could I tell you some of the songs I've written?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Amazing Grace. Oh, for 1,000 tongues, that's mine. I'm older than I look. I'm 356, right? So, well, you know, some of you may know it. Ask of me and I will give the nations as an inheritance for you. And then the second part, you know, here am I, send me to the nations as an ambassador for you. Let's see, what else have I written? I will not be ashamed of you, Father. I will not be ashamed of you, Lord. And that one goes on, you know. And then back in the 80s. Like leather and spandex worship, you know, big hair band worship, you know. Well, I'm sold out and radical. I'm gonna sing a new song forever. I sang that one. I wrote that one. And then, I don't know, maybe I should end with this one, which is another one of my favorites that I wrote. So this will be the end of the list. Oh, I should tell you a couple of things before I sing this song. Haven't you heard that enough?
I like this.
You want me to sing that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that song too. There are CDs back there. You should go buy them. All of them. There are 7. You get a really good price if you buy all 7 together. And you are, because your house burned down. I just pray for that to happen to all of you. So you'll all have to replace your collection. I'm kidding, I'm not really praying. Well, maybe I am, but I don't want you to know it. Hey, this is an album. I haven't sung any song from it, but it's my favorite album I've ever done. But look, it's rock and roll. It sounds like the Beatles and U2 got together and made this album with Peter Gabriel and Ravi Shankar. It's just a weird, wild world music romp through my life, but it's my favorite album I've ever done. In fact, after that one, I just thought, man, what do I do now? Because that's about everything I got to say right there. It was occasioned by the death of my mentor, Reverend Earl Johnson, up in Reading. I sang the Hey Ho song that I'll sing. I sang it at Earl's funeral at the request of his son, Bill. And sitting there with Darlene, Earl's wife, and looking at the box on the stage that contained what was left of Earl, and looking at Darlene and realizing, you know, soon enough, I'll be in that box, and Cindy will be sitting on the front row. Wow. Started thinking about my mortality, and that album came out of it. The live one that's got the Sinatra, Elvis, and Beatles versions of Lord Be Glorified on it. It's got the story about my dad with the song, the Hey Ho song. If you just want the worship songs, it's on that one. What's next? The artsy songs to go with my artsy book. And then Oh Mercy, which has got, I like this. It's got a collection of, this song I'm just about to do is on this one. These two are weird. They're not songs. The other ones are songs. They're like 3.5 minutes, you know. These, they're different in the fact that they're built from the ground up differently in 2 different keys. This one's in C, this is in G.
This one has the sound of rain with the music, so the title Rain is kind of a play on words. This one has the sound of ocean with the music. Other than that, though, they're both the same in this way. They're 1 hour long. They never stop. It never goes anywhere. The music never stops for an hour, and it never goes anywhere. You would never listen to this and say, wow, can that guy sing? Boy, can he play guitar. If you said that, it's a failure. What this is meant to be is, I call it musical nothingness. It's meant to be a backdrop to your prayer time. It's meant to be a constant reminder for an hour that God is calling you in. He's calling you to fellowship with Him. It's also anti-brain static. Brain static is that stuff that, you kneel down to pray and you go, did I put the bananas away? Where's my checkbook? My toe. Does that happen to you? You get distracted by the stupidest things in prayer? This is anti-brain static. That's brain static. That's just cluttering up your mind. You need that. And so then, get all set up. Also, when you're giving in the offering, let me just tell you that I'm going back to Malaysia in about 5 weeks. Malaysia, this time, and Singapore, but this time I'm also going to Indonesia, the largest Muslim nation in the world, and I'm going to China, Shanghai, the largest city in the world. I need help. It's expensive. And when I do these things, I underwrite them. And I'm holding, the last time I was in Malaysia, we had about 11,000 people come out to hear about Jesus. We got raided because we were staying in the condo of some missionaries, and it's against the law to convert from Islam, for the Malays to convert from Islam to Christianity. And a girl had, and we just happened to be there. It wasn't because of us, but we happened to be there, and 8 policemen came to see what was going on. But God is invading their lives. He's revealing Himself to them in visions. He's meeting them even in the Quran, because they get curious. Who is Isa? Who is this? I want to know more. And then they find out about Him in the Bible. You guys probably have story after story about what God's doing there, because God loves them so deeply. So when I go back, I've got to get a special visa to go into Shanghai, because you can't just go in there. We're hoping to get it. I don't live extravagantly. I'm not interested in that kind of stuff. I drove my Yukon. It's got 313,000 miles on it. Still going. I love it. I'd never trade it in if I didn't have to. One of these days, I know it's just going to go, Mr. Kilpatrick, because that's what it calls me. We're not that close. Mr. Kilpatrick, I'm done. And then it's going to die. But if I could, I would drive it for the rest of my life, because I don't need anything else. This works. As long as it works, I'm cool. That's all. What I spent my money on, and what I spend your money on when you give to help me do what I do, I spend it over there. I spend it in Indonesia, Malaysia. We take instruments with us. I won't on this trip, but we take instruments with us to Italy and give them away to the worship leaders there. And to South America and other places, lots of places. I'll be going back to Italy next year. I'm going to Uganda at the end of November and ministering there for just a week, spanning into December. If you want to help, we could really use your help. If you don't want to help, I don't need your help at all. I'm with Ezra and Nehemiah and Moses when they said, do what's in your heart. Do what's in your heart to do. Let every man who has a willing heart give. And that's, I've never tried to twist money out of people's pockets, get them emotionally stirred up, and then get them to give, I know that that's part of it. But what I want for you is for you to say, I want to help you do what you do. I want to help you. I'm willing. Here. That's what I know. So if that's what you want, do it. Okay, so 2 songs and then we're done? Tell me the story, how I love to hear it, how I love to hear it. Tell me the story, tell me one more time. Tell me how my Savior came to earth. Talk of the inn and the manger. Tell me all about Mary and the virgin birth, and how Joseph kept the baby out of danger. Oh yes, and tell of that star and 3 kings from afar, and the angels bringing light to the shepherds in the night. Tell me the story, how I love to hear it, how I love to hear it. Tell me the story, tell me one more time. Tell me how he made the blind to see, and how he sent the lame a-leaping, a-leaping, a-leaping. Tell me how he healed those 10 men from leprosy, and how the Jesus, well, Lazarus was only sleeping. Oh yes, and tell me that he's still touching, that he's still healing lives today, just like he did in Galilee. Won't you tell me the story, yeah, how I love to hear it, how I love to hear it. Tell me the story, tell me one more time. Tell me how they nailed him to that tree, how they publicly mocked and disgraced him. Tell me how he gave his life for you and for me, and how in the borrowed grave they laid him. Oh yes, and tell me, I say, how that stone rolled away, and when Mary looked inside, the angel cried, he's alive, yeah. Tell me the story, how I love to hear it, how I love to hear it. Tell me the story, tell me one more, tell me one more time. Tell me, oh, tell me the gospel story one more time. Tell me one more time. The second song will have to wait until my next visit. I broke a string. And I don't want to take the time to fix it, because that's boring. It's just boring to watch somebody change their string. So, we'll do the hey-ho song the next time, okay? 2 days before Pastor Rob comes back. Afterwards, I like to pray for people, because I believe, not in prayer, I believe in Jesus. Prayer works because Jesus works. Prayer is not magic. Prayer is a request. God, would you do this? Remember when the was it a blind man that said, you can heal me if you're willing? And what did Jesus say? I'm willing. I love that. I love that about him. I love that about him. It's so good. What do you need? I imagine there are maybe people here this morning that came hoping somebody would pray with them. Maybe it's about what your doctor told you, what your husband or wife told you, what your son or daughter told you, what your boss told you. A concern. God knows. And He cares. And if you say, God, would you help me? If you're willing, you could help me. You know what God says? I'm willing. I'm willing. So afterwards, if you'd like to have prayer, I'll be up here, maybe some others. Could somebody watch the table back there for me? You just take money. It's real easy. It's not self-explanatory, you know. Do that if you want to leave. But I'd like to be up here. I'd just like to offer to pray with you. And maybe some other drug. You can join me with some others. Dave. The other thing is I want to pray for Michelle. Do you guys believe the Bible?
Amen.
I'm always surprised when people are selective about what they want to do that the apostles did. They insist on doing certain things that the early church fathers did, and then they either neglect or reject other things that they did. But I just think, you know, it's all there. If we're going to model them over here in this action, we can certainly model them in this action as well. I'm being oblique because I'm going to explain it to you. People had Paul pray for pieces of cloth, and then they would take the cloth back to their sick relative, and they would put the cloth on the relative, and the relative was healed.
Amen.
Okay, I'm not making it up. I'm just telling you what happened. All right? Why can't we do that? I know it's been abused. But do you know what the phrase throwing the baby out with the bathwater means?
That's right.
Let's get rid of the dirty bathwater, but let's not get rid of the baby. Yeah. Let's get rid of the abuse, but let's not get rid of the use. Okay? I want us to lay hands on a handkerchief. And I want you to take it home. Would you be willing to do that? And just put it on Michelle? And let's see what God will do. Okay? Who has a handkerchief that they would donate for that use? It's clean. I'm assuming it's clean. You're useless at it. Fresh out of laundry. Right here. This is perfect. This is perfect. There's no power in this any more than there's power in prayer. The power is in God. You understand? We're not creating icons. Hezekiah became the king of Israel when he was 25 years old, and he did a couple of things. One is he tore down the high places where they worshiped the sex gods, and he tore down the temples to the sex gods and all their objects of worship. We think that's great, but you know what else he did? He destroyed the snake that Moses had raised up in the wilderness. This is a relic. This would be on anybody's must-have list. It's antique. It was 400 years old at the time. Why did he do that? Because the people had associated it with the serpent gods of the nations around them, and they had started to make offerings to it and worship it. We're not worshiping this. We're not worshiping prayer. We're worshiping Him. The power is not in the cloth. The power is not even in the prayer. The power is in God. Okay? I'd like the leadership just to come up with me for a moment and just lay hands on this. Dave. Sir? Why not? Anybody? Are you a believer? Would you do it with me? Yes, please. Dave, you want to pray?